established rich coming right back at you. This the world we live in. A person can't even have an opinion without the whole world trying to change it. And now we got Rosanda Chilli Thomas in that position for doing something that if she was a regular person, nobody would even blink an eye. Because let's call it what it is from the jump. This ain't really about money. This ain't really about a post. This is about expectations. This is about who people think you're supposed to be, not who you actually are. Now, the reports came out that she donated money to Donald Trump's campaign. And then on top of that, she reposted something about Michelle Obama that did not sit right. And just like that, it turned into a full-blown culture trial. Because when you somebody like Chilli, you don't just represent yourself no more. People feel like you represent them. And that's where things started to get real tricky. Because now your personal decisions ain't personal no more. Now they public property. Now everybody got a say. So she comes out, she addresses it. She says she ain't MAGA. She didn't understand where the money was going. And the repost was an accident.
I wanted to come on here to address a few things that's circulating on the internet that's very concerning to me. Let me say this first. I have the utmost respect and admiration for Michelle Obama, and I would never say or do anything that is disrespectful to her or to any woman. I would never do that. And I had no clue that this repost had happened until I started getting phone calls and text messages from everybody. And I immediately went to my page to see what was going on. Now, mind you, I'm not very computer savvy, so I'm looking for this repost button. And I see that all of these buttons are very, very close to each other. And clearly I was scrolling and my thumb hit the repost button. Again, I had no clue that something like this happened until I got all the calls. But of course, I took that down and, I would never post anything like that. I would never do something like that. That is not my character. I have supported the Obamas. I gave to the campaign, both runs, voted twice for him, and supported the organization that Michelle had in the schools for exercise for the kids. I would never do anything that's harmful or hateful to anybody. I'm just not wired like that. That's just not who I am. And when it comes to organizations that I have donated to, these are the things that support the veterans. I have always supported them, not just now, but for years. This is not something new. So I just wanted to let you guys know, this from me, that I would never do anything so disrespectful. And I would just never, I'm just not about hate or anything like that. If you look on my page and see my posts, it's all about love, faith, and connection. That's what I'm all about, and I've always been that way, and I will continue to be just that way. So I just want to thank you guys for, your love and your support and just taking the time to listen to me right now. I really, really appreciate that. And I love you guys. Thank you.
Now, after seeing that, you got to sit with one simple question. Do you believe her or do you not believe her? And here's where I'm at with it. I don't believe the explanations. Not because I got something against her, but because the logic just don't line up. The donations were not generic links. They were tied to specific platforms. The repost ain't a one-tap accident. It takes 2 steps to do that. So when people hear that, they side-eye, and that's fair. But here's the part I think people are missing completely. Even if you don't believe her, why do you care that much? And I'm not saying that to dismiss the conversation. I'm saying that to challenge the priority. Because at the end of the day, she's a singer. She's an entertainer. Her job is to give you music, not match your politics, not think how you think. And that's where this whole thing starts feeling a little off to me. Like we holding people hostage to public opinion. Because if she wasn't famous, this don't even make noise. This don't trend. It don't turn into reaction videos. So now you got to ask yourself, is this about what she did or is it about who she is? And I think we know the answer. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Because the black community, whether people want to say it or not, has an expectation line. Unspoken, but real. Like, you supposed to know certain things. You supposed to move a certain way. You supposed to know to think a certain way. And that's a heavy weight to put on anybody, especially somebody who's just trying to live their life. Now, don't get me wrong. People have the right to disagree. People have the right to feel how they feel. But when it turns into pressure, when it turns into you need to answer for this, that's when it stops being fair. Because now you're not allowed to just exist. You got to perform for the culture. And that's a different kind of job, one she never signed up for. And if I'm keeping it real, her best move would have been silence. Not because she was right or wrong, but because everything don't need a response. Sometimes speaking just adds fuel. Sometimes explaining just makes it worse. And this feels like one of them times because every word gets picked apart. Every explanation turns into a debate and you can't win that game. And now we heading into a situation where this ain't even about her no more. This is about how people feel about what she represents. This is about fans. This is about perception. This is about the upcoming tour. And whether people want to admit it or not, that's where it starts touching money. And once money gets involved, now everybody got a stronger opinion. Because now people start asking, was that response real? And was it necessary? Not necessary for truth, but necessary for business. Because let's be honest about the landscape. Her core audience is black women, LGBTQ supporters. That's her foundation. They've been rocking with her for years. So when something comes out that feels like it clashes with that, it ain't just a personal moment no more. It becomes a professional risk. And now you got people looking at the time and like, oh, you apologizing now. Okay. Is it genuine or is it protective?
Chilli says she's not MAGA, but the actions that she has taken don't line up with that. And the reason why the black community, and even more specifically TLC fans, are really upset with the possibility of her being MAGA affiliate is because to understand the TLC brand is to know that this group, their entire brand from the beginning has been female empowerment and sexual agency. Things that don't really align with that group of people, right? And their leader. So it really, really hurts because of the fact of as long as we've known you, we've seen you shown up in a way. On top of the fact of, when you see people, period, at this point supporting him or finding out later on that you supported him, it hurts because they've been fooled. I don't know if there's a way for her to clear this up because you can say you're not, right? And again, this is not me saying whether she is or not, but the past actions, the most recently past actions, is what is not adding up. And it's just really unfortunate.
You start to see how different people process the same situation. Some see accountability, some see damage control. And that split right there is what keeps this whole thing alive. But here's where I'ma land with it. I don't care what her political beliefs are. And I mean that. Because her beliefs don't pay my bills. Her beliefs don't impact my day-to-day life. And that's the part people lose sight of. Everything ain't personal just because it feels personal. She got a right to think how she think just like everybody else do. But at the same time, you don't get to say anything without consequences. That's the balance. You can speak, but people can respond. You can believe, but people can disagree. And that don't make them wrong, just like it don't make you wrong. And this is the real question under all of this. When you a public figure, do you belong to yourself or do you belong to the people? And that's a hard question I don't think nobody can answer. You build your platform off the people, but you still a human being with your own mind. And sometimes those two things clash like they do right now. But the truth is, we got to be careful with how quick we ought to try to control people. Because today is her, tomorrow is somebody else. And eventually, it could be you. Everybody wants freedom until somebody uses theirs differently. Then all of a sudden, it's a problem. And that's why this whole situation feels bigger than just her. This is about culture, expectations, and control. And whether you agree with her or not, that part right there was real. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.